tasks to complete list as usual. You should go to the Human Anatomy and Physiology Canvas page, and you can either look under assignments for tasks for U1L4, this is Unit 1, Lesson 4, or just go to the homepage, scroll down to that weekly calendar table thing, and look up today's date, which is the 18th, and you should see the plan there. I want to start off with homework review. You had to do the cardiac blood flow case study, and you also had a reading reflection on chapter 11.1. How do we feel about the case study, part 1? Anything you were stuck on, anything you were confused by or left blank?
Yeah, for the sketch, you said we had to make a sketch, and then we also had like a coloring one.
Yeah, same on the same thing. So you had the heart, they have that like that traceable sort of heart thing,
Yeah.
and then you had to add labels to that, and then I think they wanted you to color in just red and blue to indicate which side is oxygen rich and which side is oxygen poor.
But like that's the same thing. Like
yes,
when I submitted it went to both. Is that right?
Yes, that should be fine. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, all the same thing.
Thank you.
Good question. Anything else? Feeling good? Feel like you were helpful to I forget their names now. Was it Josie and I can't even remember the people's names right now. I've been reading case studies from my other class. So, but anyway, we'll try to use a few more of those if we can. How do we feel about the chapter 11.1 quiz covering heart anatomy? All right, great. Okay, next on the list then was just to do a quick share. This will be our do now of some of the Google Slides, the collages. We've had about 4 of you go already. Let's get at least 2 people in today. Would anyone like to volunteer? I will pull it up on my computer, but I'll take volunteers or I'll select a victim. Cameron, you're good? All right, let me pull yours up. Got it. Okay. All right, talk us through it, Cameron.
All right, so this summer I pretty much stayed in Oregon for like a month with one of my friends' families. And I played volleyball on the beach a lot. I took a U.S. history course so that I could double up on my sciences this year. Yeah, I did lacrosse a little bit with my friends.
Nice.
That was about it, and I'm interested in the lungs mainly for this
Great.
class.
That'll be our next organ to tackle. I assume you're on the Oregon coast.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the background is in Lincoln City.
Any of that area being affected by the current fires right now?
I'm not really sure.
They're mostly inland from what I've seen on the maps. The coast hasn't been hit too hard, but yeah, it's still pretty scary. So was the U.S. history course with Mr. Hinckley through Stevenson?
Yes, I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, he's a great teacher, and it's nice having that grade in your grade book for the entire year as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right, thanks for sharing. Would anyone like to go next? Gabby? All right, let me pull yours up here real quick. Got it. Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
So this summer, I basically was working at my mom's work. Her boss needed help filing papers and then putting names into computers. So that's what I did. But then when work ended, I would sometimes ride my skateboard or take walks with my family. And then I don't have a dog, but there was one week where some family friends needed to take care, like for us to take care of their dog. So we took care of their dog for a week. And then I would sometimes, like during my free times, I would play basketball at my local park. and then I would like to learn more about the bones in our body, and then what happens when we like injure or break a bone.
Nice. Yeah, skeletal system. Do you feel like you got pretty good at the filing system the more you did it?
Yeah, like we had a lot of boxes to file, so.
Man. What kind of dog was it that you were dog sitting?
It was a corgi. So.
Oh, nice. These are fun.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Thanks for sharing. Okay. In the interest of time, I'll stop there because there's a few more things I want to get through. So thanks you two for sharing. Looks like we've got, I think, about 5 more that we'll kind of work our way through in the next few lessons. Okay, our goal today is to do a little bit of work with our pulse oximeters, which I know I had you guys check on yesterday. If you don't have one, though, it's okay. There's other things you can do to continue to participate. The first thing is there's a little video I'd like you to watch. This is on the tasks list. This is number 3. Watch the short video, Oximeter Basics. So I'll go ahead and open that up right now. It's about 2 minutes long, I think, or 3 minutes. Yeah, it's just about 3 minutes long. So I'll time for 3 minutes to let you get through that. And then once you're done watching the video, go ahead and grab your oximeter or make sure you have it in working condition. And then we'll move on. Okay, 3 minutes to watch that video. Is the one that you have if you ordered the Zacurate one. If you have a different one, that's okay too. They all do the same thing. The important thing is to get the oxygen saturation levels, the blood oxygen amount, and your heart rate. So how does it measure blood oxygen levels? Anyone catch on to that? You look inside, you might see something. Who's got an idea?
It's the red light, right? I don't.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it was infrared or UV, but it's one of those types of light that it blasts your finger with it, and it goes right through your fingernail. And apparently, even like nail polish won't affect it. And it reflects back to a sensor, and yeah, it's somehow they are able to tell just by how the light is reflected back how much of your blood is oxygen rich and how much of it is oxygen poor. Apparently there's a difference in the light that gets reflected, which is kind of interesting to think about. And I should look up more of the chemistry behind that. How about your pulse? How do you think it senses your pulse? Or I should say your heart rate, but I kind of gave the answer away there.
It like measures your pulse in your finger.
Yeah, it's that throbbing. That's why you kind of have to, as you can tell, it's spring-loaded. So it's putting a little bit of pressure on your finger to sense that. So oximeters are used for a variety of things. If you've ever been in the hospital before for anything serious, or like my wife when she was delivering both of our daughters, they always stuck one of these on her finger just to constantly maintain her heart rate and O2 levels. Climbers, especially if you're tackling something really, really high altitude like Mount Everest or K2, will often bring these with them just to make sure that their blood oxygen levels aren't getting too low. And there is supposedly a way that you can check to see if you're suffering from COVID using one of these. And that's something I'll kind of look more into and try to learn more about before I present that to you, but kind of interesting. So we're going to horse around with this today. What I want to do right now is just have everybody take their heart rate and O2 levels right now. So stick it on your finger, switch the device on, and please enter that data into the Google form. This is on step number 4 on our tasks list, class survey. It's anonymous, so you just open up the Google form, take your reading right away, and it'll tell you your heart rate and your oxygen content. Remember, oxygen content's on top, heart rate's on the bottom, and enter those numbers for me. I'll give you a minute to do that.
If we don't have one, what do you?
Oh, if you don't have one, don't worry about the oxygen part. You can just leave it blank or say not available. And what you want to do is find your pulse. So find your pulse either underneath your neck or on your wrist. Feel for that kind of throbbing. Mm-hmm. Count how many throbs you feel in 15 seconds. So you can set a timer for 15 seconds. Count how many throbs you feel, and then multiply that by 4 and enter that in. That'll be your beats per minute.
All right, thank you.
So yeah, go for that. Yeah, instructions are on that tasks list too. All right. Not to call anybody out, but who does not have their oximeter? Can I just see a show of hands? Ian, you said you don't have yours? All right, everyone else seems set. Cool. So Ian, you can still do everything we're going to do today. You're just going to do your heart rate, and you can ignore the oxygen stuff. Just keep doing that same thing. Feel your pulse for 15 seconds, multiply by 4. You can still do most of what we're going to do today. No problem. So, all right, we've got 11 responses. I'm going to pull up the results here and share my screen. So check it out. So what is the blood oxygen reading? What was the most common one in our class?
98.
98%. We're a bunch of well-oxygenated people here, apparently. Again, it's good to be 95 or above. That's where you want to be. And there's reasons that could vary, which you'll discuss. What is a heart rate reading? So it looks like we're ranging from 60 up to 100. So yeah, that looks like 100 was the highest value, 60 was the lowest. And again, some of you might be sitting or standing. Again, that's going to affect a few things. So, all right, I'm going to throw you in breakout rooms just for 3 minutes. And what I'd like you to do, you can see it on the tasks list there, is just quickly share your answers we'll do 2 rounds actually of 3 minutes. So first one is in round 1, why might a person have a heart rate that is higher or lower than others? And what conditions might cause heart rate to be higher or lower at certain times? Just going to time us for 3 minutes. So share your answers to those, come back together, and then we'll discuss and try the next one. Rooms are open, go for it. All right.
Mr. Hay,
Yeah.
you had a question. So in like Grey's Anatomy and like doctors or like emergency rooms when they shout out like something over something, is that like the diastolic and systolic, or what is that?
Yeah, it's most likely the pressure of the heart beating. So yeah, because that's what systolic, diastolic tau measure. You usually want to be 120 over 80 is like the healthy range, and so that's what they'll. The 120 is the systole, like the push, and then the 80 is the refill, which you want to be a little lower. And yeah, that's what I guess doctors will shout that out sometimes, especially if it just show if the heart's working like way too hard. Then they've got to do something. They got to add blood thinners or something like that. So that's one thing. But honestly, in hospitals, and especially something like Grey's Anatomy, which does try to be pretty accurate, there's millions of number code things they're shouting out that all have different meanings. So I'm not entirely sure, but
Gotcha.
yeah, that's most likely what's going on there. So, all right, what do we think? Why would somebody's heart rate be different than somebody else's? What could vary between people that could contribute to that? Any ideas? Go ahead, Jillian.
So I was like thinking of resting heart rate, and I said like if someone is more active, like for example a runner or something, their heart rate, their resting heart rate is going to be a lot lower because your heart's a muscle, and so when you work it out, it becomes stronger. And then if it's stronger, it'll like be able to pump more blood at a time instead of having to like pump it a bunch of times and get like small amounts of blood through.
Yep, very true. They found with a lot of athletes too that athletes also tend to have more capillaries. Their arteries and veins tend to be a little clearer and larger because they're using them more, like you said. Mm-hmm. Good observation.
I said age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
Plays a big role.
yeah, something similar just to like what Jillian was saying, like the heart's a muscle, it's stronger. Not necessarily. Well, yeah. It's stronger when you're younger, and as you get older it weakens. And
definitely. In fact, your maximum possible heart rate, or at least where, if you're really pushing yourself to like a really intense heart rate, that number gets lower and lower as you age. You can actually calculate it by just taking your age and subtracting from 220. And your heart rarely goes above that amount. So yeah, as we get older, our heart just is less capable of stressing itself out, at least not without coming under damage. So yeah, that's a really good observation. Baby heart rates in particular, when they're first born, it's pretty nuts. Molly?
Does blood pressure have anything to do with like how it affects that?
Yeah, I think that it's a good question. I would assume that if someone is suffering from high blood pressure, their heart's probably working a little harder, and therefore they might have a higher resting heart rate just because their heart's just trying to get the blood around the body. So yeah, I think that could play a role for sure. Okay, let's now talk about O2 levels. So I've recreated the groups, same deal, round 2. You're asking very similar questions, but just why would oxygen levels in the blood vary? And again, I'll time this maybe just 2 minutes this time. Go for it. All right. I forgot to go over the second question about heart rate, about why your heart rate would vary, over the time of day as well. And there's a variety of factors that play a role there. Even your diet, if you've eaten chocolate or if you had caffeine, that'll increase your resting heart rate for a period of time. Level of stress, even it depends on the time of day, can really change what your heart rate is doing. So what do we think about O2 content though? Why would O2 content vary between different people? Molly?
I don't know if this is the case, but I remember talking about last year, like people who exercised in higher altitude places where like the air was thinner, needed less oxygen in their blood, which like made them more efficient or something like that. Does that have anything to do with it?
Yep. Yeah, altitude training tends to give you more red blood cells, right? Because you're right, there's less oxygen in the air. So with every breath, it's almost, it's not that dramatic, but it's sort of like you're suffocating almost with every breath. And so your body responds by being, well, let's make more blood so that we can really pick up as much oxygen as possible out of the air. And so, yeah, that actually would raise it. So you would see higher O2 concentrations probably in people who have lived or trained at high altitude. So, yeah. So location, altitude plays a role. Keone?
Yeah, I was wondering, me and Bailey talked about this in our breakout room, but I was curious, would things like sickle cell anemia affect like O2 oxygen levels or blood oxygen levels? Yeah,
that's the number one problem with it. When you have sickle cell anemia, at least what you're at risk for is very low oxygen levels in your blood, and then you can't sustain your organs. Because yes, that's a problem. Sickle cell anemia is when hemoglobin, which is the main protein carries blood, isn't made right, can't carry oxygen. And so yes, I would imagine people with that condition have much lower blood oxygen counts than people who don't have it. But remember, sickle cell anemia is interesting though too, because it's due to its incomplete dominance, that you can like kind of have it, and so some people still have like enough healthy cells to be functional. But sometimes you can be really bad, and then they don't usually live very long. So, good one. Any other ideas? Those are great. And in terms of during the day, honestly, as far as I understand, unless you're doing like extreme workouts, O2 level isn't going to vary that much during like within a single day cycle. Again, unless you're doing something that's like a really big long distance run or something that's going to quickly drain your body of oxygen. So, but you'll see, we're going to play around with it a little bit today. So, okay, I know some of you said you were tired, but I hate to say it, I'm going to make you exercise. So we are now on step 6, oximeter activity. There's a link to an assignment right below that. It says heart rate and blood oxygen activity instructions. Please click on that. I'll share my screen here for 5 seconds. It'll take you to an assignment that looks like this, where I've got it broken down. We're going to do sort of a little lab with your oximeter today. So again, if you don't have your oximeter, you can just feel your pulse for 15 seconds and multiply by 4. You're going to need a watch or a timer, a safe outdoor or indoor space to do a little exercise and also to lie down in, and you'll need your graph paper notebook. You'll be making these tables and collecting data, and then we'll be graphing that data as part of the exercise. So all the instructions are there. I made a little instructional video too that you can check out. I will be here listening if you have questions or need guidance on anything. I'm going to time this for 20 minutes to try to work on this. You don't have to be finished at the end of 20 minutes, so if you're not finished, it's okay. But do as much as you can in these 20 minutes, and just let me know if you have questions or need help with anything. I'm here listening. Go for it.